usually, when I've talked about it in the past, it's always been task versus gang labor is what they refer to it sometimes for chattel. So with task, in it does have to do with the crop that's being grown for sure. Certain crops, enslavers felt that the task system would work better. So enslaved people, at the beginning of the day or the beginning of the week are told that they have to do X, Y, and Z. And then the expectation was that once they finished those things, they would have some time to themselves, to tend to a garden, to maybe do extra work to go to the market to sell things where they might be able to make money for themselves a little bit, or be hired out to be able to do work somewhere else. And usually the people that are hired out, they're doing some sort of what we would call today a skilled, right, a skilled job. So carpentry, right, making nails, being a blacksmith, right, in general, cobblers, etc. And it does allow a lot more for more interaction and contact and time to develop, right, bonds with one another. So even if they're not from the exact same place, enslaved people come over and they come up with a common language, and they can continue to practice religion that they already knew, or maybe blend it with one another. They can, have music and food and things like that and share things in a way that whenever we get to the gang system, while on the gang system, enslaved people may not interact with white people very often, because the overseer, right, might come to them and say, do this or that. Usually the person driving work in the field was another enslaved person. But it was just every single day you're pretty much doing the same thing. And so they were told, like you said, get up, go to the field, do the work, right, as a group together, do it as quickly as you can, and then get back, eat, go to sleep, and repeat. And in that, there's not that time to be able to have downtime to talk and get to know one another. A driver wouldn't really have tolerated that. We do see some of the songs, songs that come out of the fields where they use songs to maybe pace out labor and things like that. But the chances for being able to really develop a robust kind of relationship with one another, a community where they can share things that they brought from Africa, and to be able to maybe come up with a Creole language where they can speak to each other, it just wasn't possible, especially with high intense labor, plantation agriculture. I mean, the mortality rates were high, injury rates are high. And so, yeah, there's just a huge difference in being able to really form bonds and community together. Whenever, there's going to be a lot of turnover with the population through either, right, mortality rates or sale. That's always a big element, the argument when people look at different plantation records, were families kept together or were they not kept together? And what does kept together mean? And then infant mortality rates. That was something that has come up recently in kind of discussions. The women, particularly in the gang system, were worked so hard while pregnant and then after giving birth, right? There are instances where they say that enslaved women would give birth one day and be expected to be in the field the next day with a baby just kind of strapped to her to be able to nurse. Wow. And just the strain on her body would mean she wouldn't have the nutrition to give to that baby. And then that baby, right, would pass from malnutrition. So just it's a whole different kind of world when there's that intensity of expectation of production. And that really does hammer home the idea of enslaved people being a commodity and being treated as less than human. So the fact that they are able to, in times, overcome that and still have, these moments where they have religion, where they have family, where there are those things, it's just truly remarkable. It's so remarkable to show what kind of perseverance, right, enslaved people had. It's almost just unbelievable sometimes.